All right, it is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Patrick Reusse with me as always on Mondays. Patrick, when I was trying to put together the show yesterday, it kind of seems like, man, this is not the busiest stretch of the sports calendar by any stretch of the imagination. But sometimes the slower times give us even more to talk about. We got to talk today about the Twins. I want to get into some NBA Summer League stuff with you because I just think that is one of the great rackets to have emerged in sports. If we're talking about off-season calendar filling, the NBA Summer League is number one on up there. It's inching up there on the list. Got to talk wild. This Kirill Kaprizov situation that's being reported is not good, to say the least. We'll get into that a little bit, as well as the goalie issues they seem to be having right now as well. And maybe a little bit of Lynx and Loons at the end, too, both of them playing well lately. Lynx went into the WNBA All-Star break on a good note, and the Loons suddenly can't stop scoring. But Patrick, let's talk Twins at the jump. Salvaged a game against the Rangers. Still, it seems like no matter what they do, they're every time I look at the standings, they're 4.5 games up, which is what they still are now, even after losing 3 in a row, the last one against the White Sox and then the first 2 against the Rangers. Just not a good AL Central at all. But they got the one yesterday, which felt kind of important, but still just kind of this team that, top heavy a little bit. You see the all-stars with Buxton and Arraez, Arraez leading the league in hitting, but still this team that every time you start to say, they're good, they lose some games. And every time you start to say, things are falling apart, then they start winning some games. They're still hard to figure out even after 90 some games this year.
It has, if we weren't so frustrated, it has been an amazing, pretty much over 2-week stretch where every game you don't know who's going to win in the ninth inning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been an incredible number of 1-run, 2-run games where they were either coming back or more often the other team was coming back, as took place in Arlington over the weekend, where the Rangers they kept getting leads and the Rangers kept wiping them out. I wonder how many times I was thinking they had a 5-run inning and got beat. They had a 6-run inning and got beat. I wonder how often that's happened back-to-back games. And then yesterday, Duffy comes in and gets him out in the ninth inning. That helped a lot to see him now usable again. Helps a very beleaguered bullpen. I was looking him up. Today his pitches, he was just getting murdered earlier this year with the curveball.
Yeah,
and he's so curveball happy. He throws the knuckle curve and then he throws the big looping curve. And that big looping curve, he'd throw 3 in a row and he'd hang one of them, and some guy'd hit it 600 feet. I looked yesterday. None of them were listed as just straight old curveballs. As that he throwing quite a few changeups too, which is something he really had never done before. So they've mixed up his pitches and they're kind of keeping him away from that loop and hook that was his bread and butter pitch when he first came up. But having him usable would certainly help. They drive me crazy, as you probably know. I've said it before. They're so breaking ball crazed, heavy. They even got Duran throwing the splitter and the breaking pitch instead of throwing it 103, 102 a lot of times. But yeah, they're lucky to get out of there with one, that's for sure. One good sign is Buxton hit the wall and didn't have to take the next day off.
Yeah.
So he played, he's playing more. It's not in center field, DHing a lot. But when you look at him, he's got 23 home runs now, right? 23.
Yeah.
Right? He's also hitting 216 or 17. And his on-base percentage is not 300. He's the people who want to create the narrative that he's the best player in baseball. He's not in the conversation with those kind of numbers. So, A, because of those numbers, and B, because of the fact that he doesn't play center field all the time anymore, which is one of his great assets, and just see that he's not hitting except for hitting his home runs once in a while. He's Sano, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's kind of having a year like you would imagine Sano could have.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, Sano having those home run, last year he hit 30. And I don't know. They're an interesting outfit, to say the least. But the idea that slot balling Devin Smeltzer was going to become a staple in your rotation, I think we're starting to see the end of that too. He gave up 7 runs the other day. They are still way shy in the starting rotation. Mm-hmm. Winder, I think, gave him a little lift, but I just, the advantage they have in the division is nobody's chasing them. when you don't have anybody chasing you, it helps, because the White Sox still don't have their act together, and Cleveland has found out how good they are, which isn't very good at all. So you just kind of, right now the team that's playing the best in the division is the mighty Tigers. So,
right.
It's a big advantage, to say the least. It'll be interesting. Milwaukee coming to town. I wonder, they got a Tuesday night and a Wednesday afternoon. I wonder if they'll go over 30 for those 2 games. If we'll get to see some, and the attendance has been better. But they still have a lot of non-believers, I guess, including me. So
Switch your checking account to Royal Credit Union and discover a better way to bank. Royal Credit Union is a financial co-op, not a corporation, so we return earnings to our members. That means you get low or no fees for account services and better rates on deposits and loans. You'll also have all the digital tools you need at your fingertips, so managing your account is easy. Royal is ready to help you discover the credit union difference. Switch your checking account to Royal Credit Union today at rcu.org/yourchecking. Insured by NCUA.
Like Cleveland, caught them, and then all of a sudden, I don't even think the Twins have played all that great since then, and it's still back to 4.5 now in the division. Like I said, it seems like no matter what they do, they can't fully lose this lead. None of these other teams are chasing them down. That said, the pitching, even though the ERA, I think the team ERA is still like 9th or 10th in the majors. Maybe it took a hit after that Texas series because they gave up quite a few runs in that series, but it was like 8th or 9th going into that series. And it's like, how? And what needs more fixing as we think about the trade deadline being a few weeks away? I mean, the easiest thing to fix is the bullpen, right? Because those guys don't take as much to acquire. And, they can get a rental for a couple months that really helps out. They could also invent a time machine and, take away Derek Falvey's phone when San Diego calls about Taylor Rogers. But, what's more important, getting another starting pitcher so they might go deeper than 4 1/3 in a lot of these games, or getting bullpen help, or is it both? Is this thing just going to fall apart if their arms have got to wear down at some point, because they're asking a lot of the bullpen, especially?
Yeah, I think equally, I would say there's, they haven't developed. Winder's their first starting pitcher that they've developed to any extent. And okay, if he joins your rotation here for the rest of the year, I think I don't know if he's, last year he pitched 60 innings or something like that, 70 innings, because he had an arm injury, and Chris Archer, they finally gave him some kind of an injury to, basically get him out of the rotation so that they could not have those 4-inning starts anymore. He'll probably have to come back in now. But the good thing would be is if they could actually go to a 6-man rotation, but with the limit, he already runs out of relievers, and they have to go to St. Paul to bring in somebody who's not that good over there. So they can't do that. I'd love to see him get a starter, but if I was a fan, but I don't know. One more really good reliever, like one of those Baltimore guys. They got about 4 of them over there, would really help. But Baltimore's probably enjoying what they're doing right now. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they got people actually coming to the games again and things like that. So they probably don't want to break up that group. But yeah, I guess I don't think there's much chance of getting a starter who can really be counted on. So you just got to say you got to get one more arm for the bullpen, that's for sure, and then keep slapping it together. It's certainly, we've talked about it. I've talked about it with a lot of people. For a team that's been in first place, basically, they were out for a couple of days since late April, late April, early May. We certainly enjoyed it as much as we should. I mean, it's
I've written about that a couple of times. It's like, what? Look, we do need to try to have a sense of, hey, this is kind of cool, especially after last year. And it's hard because they've lost like 15 games that absolutely feel like they kicked you in the teeth.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And yesterday, I mean, that was a huge game yesterday. Okay. You're just a little bit over halfway into the season. Well, you're 90 games into the season now. So you're 60% of the way into the season, and to come limping home from Detroit and, limping home from Arlington with getting swept in 3 games, you had a chance, you should have won. It would have really been a kick in the shins. So now they get, that was Duffy getting those 3 outs in the bottom of the ninth was one of the biggest half innings of the year for this team. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, no pitchers for the Twins as all-stars. The guys that aren't surprising, I would think, got in, right? Buxton and Arraez. Buxton, like you noted, hitting 215 now, but the slugging up at 550. Very much a home run hitter first now. He's got 23 of those. And obviously Arraez doing what he's done. He took the 0 for yesterday, but hitting 348 and slugging 449. He's added a little bit of power to his game this year.
I hope nobody has the audacity to try to get Buxton to go to the home run derby. That's
right.
I hope that his team bans him from even considering it. That would be the way this year has gone, injury wise and everything else. Having Buxton get hurt in the home run derby would probably be the topper, wouldn't it? So I'm sure that he's not going to participate. But it's going to be really interesting here in about 2 more weeks. What Sano's rehab time is going to be up here pretty soon. And
okay.
Nobody has, have you ever seen a former guy who was one of the highest profile players on a team, not for several reasons. One, when he was hot, he was really good. And the rest of the time he was really bad. We thought he was going to be great. He was never really great, but it's amazing. He just disappeared from the planet as far as the team is concerned. There's unless the reporters push the topic, you never hear anybody, when Rocco's given injury updates, they never routinely throw Sano in there. It is all over for Miguel and the Twins. There's no doubt about it. But then again, if he doesn't return till August, you can't trade him. So what do you do? Who do you they put him on waivers and hope somebody claims him? I don't know.
I mean, before he got hurt, he was 5 for 54 this year, hitting 0.93, a 148 slugging percentage. He had hit 1 home run, but you go back to the Bomba squad year, 2019, he was awfully good that year, hit 34 home runs, had a 923 slugging. The strikeouts were still up, but not maybe as bad as they could have been in other years. But since then, I mean, it's been, he got into last year and hit enough hot streaks that he got up to 30 home runs. But this is 3 years in a row now where, if you count this year and the slow start where he just hasn't really had it going. So, I mean, at a certain point, you just got to say he's not the best option on the field. I mean, would you rather have Miguel Sano at the plate, or would you rather have Jose Miranda? I mean, Miranda's actually hitting pretty well lately.
As he still drives me nuts whenever they put him in the field, but he can hit. And I mean, there's no doubt they're not going to dump Miranda to make room for Miguel Sano. So I don't know what they're going to do, but he will live in Twins annals as one of the I would have to say, even though he had his moments, 2017 All-Star game and all that stuff, he's been a great flop in franchise history. And my friend Tom Hamilton from the Guardians, when they were here 10 days ago, he went on this rant on their on the broadcast, which was very un-Tom-like, saying the only reason he's not here is because he's too fat and they got him down trying to get in shape in Fort Myers. So somebody must have told him that. I don't know who, but that basically more than some kind of an injury, they're just sick of him not being in shape or in good enough shape, even though by his standards he didn't look that huge this year. But I think it's just I think he's Chris Davis. I think that's who he's become, Chris Davis. The ball guy who they ended up. He just could not hit the fastball anymore. The way it's thrown, the velocity of the modern game, he just couldn't hit the fastball anymore. And if you don't hang, if the Miguel, to me, the last 2-3 years, if you haven't hung him a breaking ball, he was impossible for him to get a hit. But it is an amazing thing how you go, the option on him for next year is $14 million. So there's no be here. So
they're going to love paying him $2.75 million to go away next year, aren't they? But that'll be money well spent. Yeah,
well, they've spent $6.5 million to have Taylor Rogers go away too, which was but still the oddest thing of that whole trade was the fact that they gave up money to do it. They avoided our guy Emilio yesterday, didn't they? They used the bullpen for 4 innings, and Emilio didn't appear among those guys. So anyway, it's a really puzzling year for Bay. It's an extremely odd year around here, as I say. That I guess it's modern fandom too, because you have just instant access to commenting that we go nuts when they kick away these ball games. And but then again, they've probably been in more excruciating games the last month, and most of the time they did not get to the finish line.
Right.
And there's nothing in baseball more that fires up fans more than a bullpen that lets leads get away, and that's what's here. So it's it's certainly more fun than last year when they were buried on Mother's Day, right?
Yeah. So, yes. Anyway. Got to take the good with the bad. Patrick, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to get to the Wild in a minute, but I was just thinking about the NBA Summer League, and how you can watch pretty much every one of these games. How, I get it's kind of exciting, I guess, for a fan base, and I'm not, whatever people want to watch, that's their business. That's fine. I'm not here to say watch this, watch that. Don't get excited about this. But the Summer League, the NBA has found a way to somehow stay relevant here with basically a league with draft picks, a few of last year's players, a couple of the players, maybe 3. I think James Wiseman's playing in it, so that he's a third-year player coming up on his third year. But mostly it's just guys they just filled out the roster with, and they're hoping to get. It's like watching a preseason game without any of the veterans, and yet people are going nuts for it.
Dude, does anybody watch it though? I mean, I bet they don't get a 500,000 a game, do they?
No, but they get enough like social media buzz out of it that probably is worth it.
Oh yeah, it is. It's something. And the thing about the Wolves is after trading the big guy from Auburn,
Walker Kessler, yeah.
They have anybody that we care about. Are you excited to see if Wendell Moore Jr. can make a shot or not? I mean, which he couldn't yesterday. I saw a stat he was 2 for 11 or something. But I mean, who if you sit down and watch that game, who do you care about? I don't get it. You know what? Baseball, they have a AAA, right? And you go to the same game and you think you've heard of some of these guys and you think that, okay, some of these guys will be here. So obviously a lot of them are roster fillers, but a lot of them will be coming on. But I was at Des Moines last year I was down there doing another story, and I went to one of the Wolves games.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guys playing that are never going to see the NBA. It's like, it's just like Rick Barry's son, Cameron, who's I wrote about because he's interesting, right. But you got no chance to ever play. I mean, they fill out their rosters just to have a team, but there's nobody down there that the rules are such that you can't like have the number 8 overall draft choice is never going to be in AAA, never going to be in that league. To me, it's just a big, huge waste of money by the NBA to have this, the minor league that they have, and nobody goes to the games. Their crowds are horrible. It's just, the NBA is amazing to me, Mike, that as I keep saying, the draft is this way, the league is this way, that there's more basketball players than any other sport in the world except soccer. And you got about 4 guys on each team that matter,
right.
Everybody else is. I mean, it's amazing how quickly the draft turns into nothingness. It's amazing that their minor leagues don't mean anything, and development wise. Oh, how's Nathan Knight doing down there? Oh, hey, right. Oh boy, I'm going to look at the box score to see if Nathan Knight got 4 points or 8 points. It's incredible to me that we just, that so few players have an impact in the end. How hard it is to be impactful in the NBA is amazing to me, because you'd think that there'd be an endless supply of players who could come in and help teams, and there aren't, to say the least.
Yeah, I was just looking at the Wolves.
Who we got summer league roster?
I'm looking at the roster right now. So the 2 draft picks, right? Wendell Moore Jr., who was a first round pick. So yeah, that's fine. And then Josh Minott, second round pick.
He didn't start at Memphis. He's our second rounder. He didn't start at Memphis, right?
He's upside. I'm sure he's all upside because he's 19. So they're hoping that they find something there to get to work with. But the rest of the roster: Kevon Harris, David McCormick. Yeah. Matteo Spagnolo, I think he was a draft pick too. Matt Lewis, Jacob Giard, George Condit IV, Melvin Frazier, Khalil Whitney, Brian Bowen II, Terrell Brown. These are the guys that got DNP'd yesterday. Deontay Burton, Mariel Shayok, Jordan Tucker, and Philip Wheeler.
Yeah.
What is your summer league roster? They lost to the summer league Grizzlies 70-63. They shot 4 for 33 from 3-point range yesterday. Not a good sign. And the Grizzlies shot 3 for 31.
Wow, that had to be thrilling. Really? You're kidding. So we got 7 out of how many? 70?
7 out of 66, it looks like. 7 out of 64 between the two teams out of 3-point range.
Now, is that Spagnale? Is he the guy they drafted in the second round?
I think so. I think he's their other second round pick, Matteo Spagnolo.
And I thought they were going to let him keep playing in Europe. I think
they are. Maybe they can bring him over for summer league and then he goes back. I don't know.
Because he's, I thought they were going to stash him in the Europe for. I don't. You're right. It's just a complete fiasco. But I'd rather watch the Canadian Football League than the Summer League. But Yeah. The one headline I saw it on, what is it? Wiseman was playing in the Kamunga for Golden State. So,
yes.
But what do they accomplish? Because nobody really guards anybody. They go up and that was the amazing thing about when you look at the Wolves score from their summer league game with Memphis yesterday, what was it, 70-63?
70-63. Yeah.
70-63, and they don't play any defense.
Yeah.
It was like, I used to say you could lock that guy in the gym and he'd go 4 for 28 by himself, But that seems to be that game. If you watch that game yesterday, go see a psychiatrist. Okay. There's some serious issues, pal. Whoever you are, if you watch the summer league, you got issues. There's no doubt about it.
Speaking of issues, let's talk Wild here for a little bit here at the end. Let's talk the goalie stuff is interesting. Let's talk Kaprizov and we'll get into the goalie stuff. The Kaprizov stuff being reported over the weekend that he's been trying to get back to the United States and he's been denied entry twice. I believe that was reported in The Athletic. And it's, it's July, but this is also not a country that you want to be messing around in right now. What do you, it was a star player trapped in country I didn't have that on my bingo card for Minnesota sports misery, but this is very Minnesota sports right now. They're coming off their best year in a long time. This is the best player they've ever had. And now he's caught up in whatever this is.
Yes. And I would imagine that when they sent that goalie, that the Flyers, wasn't the Flyers drafted?
Yeah.
They sent him to the Arctic, to some military base. I wonder what, of course you wonder what their motivation in invading Ukraine is. I mean, Putin's nuts, but what is their, arresting Brittany Griner, they want to trade her for a prisoner, and they're counting on the outcry to get us to send them some evil SOB in exchange. But what is their motive for keeping Russians at home? Players. I don't know what because PR wise, I guess they're not too worried about PR when you invade a country, but what are they accomplishing by if they're going to start treating their international hockey players like this? What are they accomplishing? I don't get what it is. I don't know, but we're not going to exchange prisoners for Kirill Kaprizov, the U.S. We're not going to, Amy Klobuchar might write a letter asking them to let him out. But they're not applying any political pressure on the United States by not letting Kirill Kaprizov, although it sounds like Kaprizov was denied by us, right?
Yes, I think denied entry back into the U.S. sounds like.
He did not have a work visa, and they're not issuing him a work visa. They're investigating him about something when he was 17 years old. And I don't know what, I guess, why would we, I think maybe we should relax our work visa rules here. If a guy gets a chance to get the hell out of there, maybe he can apply for some kind of sanctuary or something. But yeah, it's bad, man. The guy's a madman. It's like you're dealing with Hitler or Stalin. So who knows what the hell this is going to turn out to be. But the reason they were really good last year is because Kaprizov, because they had Kaprizov. And wherever this leads to, I don't know. Are they looking for a bounty from NHL teams to give them some cash to help, fund the war, or or for Putin and his buddies to steal more money? Is that what they're looking for? I don't know what they're looking for.
Who knows? It'll be an off-season thing to watch until it is resolved. If it is resolved, the more juicy, the more fun off-season bit of stuff is the goaltending stuff. When they signed Fleury to that 2-year extension the other day, a 2-year contract. Sounds like Cam Talbot is not happy about that. Talbot's agent sent Guerin a text that said something like, "We stated our positions. Billy has a lot to think about." Bill Guerin
dropped F-bomb on him, didn't he?
He did. And he said, Cam Talbot's under contract. George, that's his agent. George can say whatever the hell he wants. My team is set right now, and that's the way it goes. So we can have all the discussions we want. Cam's a member of our team. Like I said, we really like Cam. All we're trying to do is win. All we're trying to do is have good, strong goaltending, and I think we have that. Yeah. So it's like basically like, yeah, he might not be happy that he's sharing the net next year, but guess what? He's under contract.
Well, his wife, the day after they were eliminated, he didn't get paid. His wife went on Twitter and basically bid us all adieu, right?
Right.
Hey, we're even. Yeah, well, Garrett is, he's amazing. He just tells them to all go, bleep themselves. And he's going to, he's got 1 year left at $3 million, Talbot. And,
something like that. Yeah. 1 year. He's definitely got 1 year left. They're trying to make that bridge to the guy they drafted last year, the number one or the first round pick they drafted last year. Who expected him to bring Fleury back? He wasn't that good, right? He was mediocre. And, the fact that obviously Talbot played better than he did down the stretch. And then they went with Talbot. They went with Fleury in 5 of the 6 playoff games. The first 5, yeah. The first 5 games, right?
First 5 games. How long did they last? 6? Did they win
6?
2?
Yeah, they lost in 6. They were tied 2-2 in the series and up 2-1 in the second period. Game 5 at home, and then everything was bad from there on out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. But Guerin is, you know what? He's a crusty SOB who's a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
As far as general managers in town. We now have the guy out at Vikingville, Mensa, who's just completely full of crap. We have Falvey, who's still spinning the same stuff. And now we got I don't know, the Timberwolves guy might be okay. I don't think he's going to say much. He's going to be a doer and maybe not a PR type guy. But it's Garrett just old school hockey, to say the least. I was talking to Leopold and the other day about the 10-year anniversary of Parisi and Suter, and then he talked about Garrett. He says, "Oh, he's really great. He's we talk all the time. He's a great communicator." And I said, "Yeah, but his communication is, this is what I'm going to do." He said, "Oh, no, that's not it. He calls me up and asks my opinion, and then he does what he wants to do." but he's smart enough to get my permission. He says he's smart enough to get my permission, but he basically Leopold loves him. It's amazing how he thought Fenton was the right guy instead of Guerin back there, 4 years ago. I mean, he'd seen Fenton operate in Nashville and liked him as a scout, but you wonder what he had in his mind when he decided Fenton was the guy to have as his general manager, who couldn't get along with anybody and was a surly old SOB who didn't do that bad as GM here, by the way. Movie got rid of some people, but yeah, it's something and the other thing about this whole deal, you were talking about the Summer League and the NHL and everything, the draft, and with the drafts, being back where they were, everything being pushed back still because of the pandemic. The seasons are upon us here in about.
I know.
There's the hockey team got beat, so they did get a decent off season. But as far as the news cycle of the leagues, they're just everything's jammed together here. So it's pretty amazing. The
news cycles are relentless. Really quick at the end here, Loons, you mentioned to me. Scoring, 3 goals in each of the last 3 games. All 3 of them win, so they are back on track. The Lynx went into the All-Star break on a high. They,
had 50 games and 16 goals, Mike. They had 16 goals in 15 games, and now they got 9 in 3 games.
Amazing.
Adrian Magic.
Adrian must have changed the formation. All the fans were right. I don't know what he did. I don't know what they did, but sometimes these things just happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll probably talk to him for a show. Might be this week before they play Everton, because that'll be a fun one when they play his old club.
Yeah, but Everton, did they get relegated? They were fighting to avoid relegation. They might have gotten relegated.
I don't know. I hadn't paid that close of attention to it. Let's see. I don't know. He's no, they avoided it. They avoided it. They beat Crystal Palace right at the end to stay away from relegation.
Okay, that was best plan I heard about the new Big Ten.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, right? The promotion and relegation.
Well, top 2 in the bad division get to move up.
I love it.
Be fantastic. That and yes, and the Lynx have come alive too.
Yes.
I'm very happy the Lakes are coming alive, because it allows our guy Kent Youngblood to relax. Kent covers him, and if you've ever had the privilege of being in the office when Kent is cursing at a Lakes game as he watches it on TV, it's fantastic. So he's a very involved beat writer for the Lakes, who, by the way, we now give more pub to than we did when they were winning the NBA titles, WNBA titles. The Lakes are covered tremendously well in our paper these days. So we give them a lot of ink. There's nothing for them to complain about.
No. Well, that'll do it, Patrick. Good stuff. Let's do this again next week. All right.
All righty. And we'll be getting closer to the start of NFL training camp, which makes me want to throw up.
You've been avoiding it for a while. You've had a nice little break. Great.
It's been great. Yes. And maybe we'll have a real exciting summer league game this week when they go 6 out of 35 on their 3-pointers. Prove their accuracy a little bit. Unbelievable. All right.
All right, Patrick.